You watch wealthy people grow their fortunes while you're stuck counting pennies, wondering what secret they know that you don't. Here's a hard truth nobody wants to admit. Money doesn't care about hard work or fairness. It follows a different set of rules. Rules Machiavelli understood long before society pretended the system was fair. Most people never learn these rules because they're too busy believing the world will reward them for playing nice. The painful truth is simple. You remain poor because you still equate effort with reward. You think if you work a bit harder or save a bit more, you'll eventually succeed. The rich, however, stopped believing that myth long ago. They don't grind harder. They engineer their position so money flows to them automatically, like water running downhill. Without understanding the strategic thinking behind their moves, you'll spend your life enriching someone else. What follows isn't advice about budgeting or side hustles. These are forbidden strategies, the kind that separate the wolves from the sheep in the money game. Master these principles, and your mindset will never be ordinary again. The game isn't rigged. You just don't know the real rules yet. Many believe wealth comes from intelligence, luck, or talent. All myths. If that were true, brilliant people wouldn't die broke, and hardworking individuals wouldn't drown in bills. Wealth isn't about skill. It's about cold calculation, strategic thinking that bends reality in your favor. Money shapes your options, your status, and even your survival. Those who control it control everything around them. First lesson, money is never neutral. It's a tool. In weak hands, it disappears. In strong hands, it multiplies endlessly. This tool belongs to those willing to abandon childish notions of fairness and start seeing reality clearly. That begins with shattering your old identity. Stop seeing yourself as a victim and start observing the world objectively. Most humans are blind, predictable, emotional, and easy to read. They can't see how they're manipulated in the wealth game. Once you learn to watch instead of reacting, everything changes. You'll see how fortunes are truly built. Consider the average worker. He grinds daily, saves small amounts, and follows every rule, but his life remains trapped, his labor enriching someone above him. Why? Because he believes in effort without leverage, fairness over power, and appearances over truth. This blindness keeps him trapped forever. Here's your first weapon, silence. Most people chase wealth by talking constantly, proving themselves, and showing desperation. Silence, however, creates tension and forces others to reveal themselves first. In any negotiation or deal, whoever stays quiet longest gains control. Humans hate silence. They rush to fill it, often spilling secrets or weaknesses. The wealthy know this instinctively. They don't chase deals. They let others expose themselves before acting. Silence turns you from prey into hunter. But silence alone isn't enough. Predictable reactions still make you controllable. That brings us to the next principle, emotional invisibility. Most people broadcast fear, greed, and insecurity. Predators detect these signals instantly, and the wealthy exploit them in markets, workplaces, and relationships. To escape poverty, become unreadable. Master inner stillness. Eliminate emotional signals. When you are unreadable, you can't be predicted, and when you can't be predicted, you can't be controlled. You become the player, not a piece on someone else's board. Such a person saves when others spend, strikes when others hesitate, retreats when others rush blindly. This is how empires are built, not by following the crowd, but by observing, waiting, and executing with precision. Every time you act on impulse, every time emotion drives you, you lose power. Every loss strengthens someone wealthier because money never stops moving. If it leaves your hands, it builds someone else's empire. Another law, timing. Average people act impulsively. They chase trends, gamble on hype, and race toward get-rich-quick schemes, becoming prey for those who wait. The wealthy move deliberately, strategically, like a tiger in the grass, conserving energy for the perfect moment. When fear grips the masses, they act. They buy when others panic, hold when others sell, and expand when others retreat. Patience is their weapon. Develop this skill, and you'll stop wasting money on impulses while others feed the system. Start capturing opportunities others overlook. But patience requires discipline, and discipline is exactly what most people avoid. They seek comfort, ease, and instant rewards instead of the steady strength that comes from self-control. This is why the small group that learns patience, silence, and emotional stability rises to wealth, while many remain tied to a monthly paycheck. And here's the harsh truth. Most will never break free. They're too reactive, too emotional, too distracted to win. They remain vulnerable their entire lives. But you don't have to. If you study these principles seriously, if you detach from illusions, use silence wisely, stay unreadable, and master timing, you stop blending in. You stop staying broke. You start becoming someone others cannot easily influence. And the more you learn, the clearer it becomes. Wealth isn't gained through fairness. It's gained through strategy. You've already seen the first cracks in the system. Silence shifts conversations. Being unreadable protects your intentions. Patience turns pressure into opportunity. But stopping here leaves you incomplete. Because money isn't just protection. It's about turning the environment, and sometimes people, into assets that fuel your growth. And this is where the real game truly starts. Many assume wealth comes from hard effort. They imagine the rich simply work more or think better. That's only partly true. Real wealth is built through positioning, by placing yourself where other people's efforts naturally benefit you, often without them realizing it. Look at your job. You put in hours, energy, and skill, yet your paycheck is only a small portion of the value you create. The rest flows upward into the organization. Why? Because those above you are positioned structurally to receive the results of your labor. They don't need to work more than you. They only need you working. This is leverage in its purest form. People's effort, commitment, and loyalty are unpredictable. But when you control the structure they work within, their inconsistency doesn't matter. Your wealth keeps growing while theirs remains stagnant. Leverage is the reason a landlord builds wealth while tenants pay rent for decades. Leverage is the reason an investor grows money while thousands gamble and fail. Leverage is the reason a corporation earns billions from millions of customers who continue buying even when unhappy. And here's the cold truth. Most never think in terms of leverage. They focus on earning. They trade time. They trade labor. By doing that, they trade away life itself. That's why they stay broke, because they exchange the one thing that cannot multiply, hours. Those who master leverage stop trading time and start building systems. They build positions where money, energy, and opportunity move toward them automatically. They stop functioning as workers and become strategists, setting structures that work even when they don't. Still, leverage means nothing without control, because people are unpredictable. They change preferences, habits, and loyalties. If you can't keep their attention or direction, you lose the advantage. That's why you must understand the law of story. Money doesn't move toward the best product. It doesn't move toward the hardest worker. It moves toward the strongest story every time. Humans aren't purely logical. They follow belief more than facts. Those who control the narrative control the money. That's why religions grow worldwide. Why brands turn into communities. Why politicians influence millions with speeches. They've mastered narrative, shaping how people see the world. And here's the unspoken truth. A story doesn't need to be accurate. It only needs acceptance. Once people accept your narrative, they offer their money, loyalty, energy, even their commitment, willingly. Average people reject this idea. They believe truth and fairness shape the world. But pay attention. Repeated messages become reality. Built images become accepted truth. And the person who refuses to understand narrative stays stuck, because money follows belief far more than it follows objective facts. Silence, unreadability, patience, leverage, narrative. Do you see the pattern? Each principle transforms human tendencies into advantages. Each step separates you from the crowd and moves you closer to those who understand the deeper game. But here's something more difficult you must confront. Machiavelli would call this the moment you stop being influenced by illusions and start observing people as they truly are. Wealth requires sacrifice, not of blood, but of comfort, because the strategic path is often lonely. You can't give in to every urge or distraction. That's what keeps most people weak. They chase comfort constantly. The wealthy may look relaxed, but underneath is strict discipline. They manage themselves before they try to manage circumstances or people. If you want to rise beyond financial struggle, you need the same approach. Sometimes you must let go of appearing overly agreeable to gain actual influence. This is why many remain stuck. They hold on to comfort, fairness, and external approval. Wealthy individuals don't. They use discomfort when needed. They adjust rules strategically. They maintain appearances when beneficial. That adaptability is what lets them advance while others fall behind. But remember, every law has a risk. Silence can become isolation. Unreadability can become anxiety. Patience can turn into passivity. Leverage collapses without discipline. Narrative can fail if exposed. This is why those with wealth appear calm. They've learned to balance confidence with caution, always maintaining stability above chaos. And while you assume wealth comes from extra effort, they operate quietly, moving strategically. They set structures you don't notice until much later. But not for you, not anymore. Not if you keep following this path. You're already stripping away illusions. You're becoming calmer, sharper, and more calculated in your decisions. And once you fully embrace this strategic mindset, you'll understand. Money doesn't go to those who deserve it. It goes to those who capture it. And capturing it is rarely loud. It's subtle, strategic, nearly invisible. That's the direction you're heading, toward your final shift. By now, you can feel the internal change. The world appears different. You see people talking, pleading, buying approval, reacting constantly, and all you see around you is weakness. People rarely realize they're being drained, manipulated, used like instruments. You do now. You've stepped outside the herd, mentally. But crossing over fully requires more than just silence, unreadability, patience, leverage, or crafting a narrative. Those are foundations. Real transformation happens when you sharpen these skills into tools and wield them decisively. Because wealth isn't a fair game. It's not moral, it's warfare. And in warfare, hesitation can be fatal. Let's go deeper into territory most won't explore. Consider why the poor cling to jobs while the wealthy build empires. It isn't just about leverage, it's about replacement. The weak trade labor for power, believing harder work earns more. But hard work alone is fool's gold. The wealthy operate differently. They exchange ideas for labor, influence for action, perception for reality. Think clearly. One person digs a hole all day and earns a wage. Another organizes 10 people to dig 10 holes and earns 10 times more without touching a shovel. Who's smarter, the one sweating or the one orchestrating? If you trade time directly for money, you remain trapped. But if you trade perception for value, ideas for labor, others' energy for your gain, money flows to you. This is the truth rarely taught. The rich don't work harder. They make others work harder for them. Replacement alone isn't enough. Enter the law of illusion. People rarely buy what something is. They buy what they believe it is. That's why a diamond, a simple rock, can command fortunes. Why brands turn ordinary items into luxury symbols. Why paper currency, essentially worthless, wields global power. Money follows illusion. Masters of illusion grow wealth without directly creating it. They sell the story around reality, not the reality itself. Entire industries thrive on desire for things nobody truly needs. Illusion generates demand. Demand creates wealth. Reject illusion as dishonest, and you've already lost. The world rewards mastery of appearances, not honesty. Appearances are power. Illusions are currency. Whoever commands them commands wealth. Now, consider the law of extraction. Many recoil at the term, imagining cruelty or malice. But pure extraction simply means identifying and used value and capturing it first. The wealthy see gaps, inefficiencies, opportunities, and extract value before anyone else does. This isn't always from people. It's from timing, fear, waste. Take fear. When markets crash, most panic sell, losing massive value. The predator extracts wealth by buying low, multiplying gains while others falter. Attention is another example. Billions scroll aimlessly online. The predator captures it, turning distraction into income. Extraction isn't cruelty, it's realism. If you don't extract, someone else will. Your lack of cold calculation is why you stay broke. Even extraction is dangerous without control. Enter the law of withholding. The weak give everything freely, thinking this earns trust. They overshare plans, emotions, intentions, losing leverage. The wealthy withhold strategically. They reveal just enough to spark desire, dependence, or interest, but never enough to be predictable or vulnerable. In negotiations, the average person blurts their price or limits immediately. The predator waits, observes, calculates. When they act, the other side is already trapped. Withholding creates mystery. Mystery creates power. Power generates wealth naturally. This explains why the richest often seem silent, distant, enigmatic. They aren't hiding, they're preserving their advantage. Let's connect these principles. Silence bends people to your frame. Being unreadable shields your position. Patience turns desperation into opportunity. Leverage turns others into resources. Narrative shapes perception. Replacement frees you from labor. Illusion multiplies value. Extraction turns waste into wealth. Withholding preserves advantage. These aren't tips, they are weapons. Cold, precise, forged through centuries of power dynamics. Used skillfully, you stop being a victim of the money game. You become the game itself. Finally, identity shifts. Most live as prey, emotional, predictable, chained to hours, wages, and illusions of fairness. Once you walk this path seriously, you stop being like them. Fundamentally, you transform into an agent of control, strategy, and power. You are an observer, a strategist, a quiet force in the marketplace. Picture it clearly. While others move without direction, you walk as if you can see through the surface of everything. You catch emotional cues, impulses, and weaknesses instantly. And instead of joining their confusion, you stay composed. You wait with intention. You act only when the result is already aligned with your benefit. This is what it means to be unreadable, untouchable, and effective in the money game. You're no longer chasing wealth aimlessly. You're positioning yourself so wealth naturally gravitates toward you. And once you feel this shift, there's no returning to ordinary thinking, because mentally, you've stepped into a higher space, one most people never reach. But the real question is, how do you apply this every day? How do you live this mindset instead of treating it as a concept? This is where we move into practical execution, turning principles into strategy, strategy into routine, and routine into results. You've internalized the laws: silence, unreadability, patience, leverage, narrative, replacement, illusion, extraction, and withholding. They're no longer theories, they're tools. But tools and used offer no power. To become truly untouchable, these laws must operate quietly in your daily behavior, like concealed advantages no one anticipates. Because wealth isn't created only in big victories. It's built in small, consistent decisions where most people stumble repeatedly. That's where you rise above the crowd. That's where you become something entirely different. Conversations with people. Most individuals speak to fill space, to appear relevant, to seek validation. But you understand something deeper now. Words are currency. And currency must be invested wisely. When you sit with someone, friend, coworker, partner, practice intentional silence. Let them speak first. Let them reveal themselves willingly. You're not reacting impulsively anymore. You're observing with precision. Every hesitation, inconsistency, and emotional signal becomes information you can use. And in time, you'll notice people rush to fill the silence you create. They offer insights, influence, even trust, simply to feel comfortable around you. Silence is not emptiness. Silence is controlled pressure. Negotiations. Amateurs think negotiations are battles of arguments and forceful persuasion. They talk endlessly, trying to dominate. But negotiation is controlled conflict disguised as polite exchange. And in controlled conflict, the composed participant wins over the frantic one. In any negotiation, your unreadability is your protection. You don't show excitement, it exposes desire. You don't show fear, it exposes limits. You don't show urgency, it exposes weakness. You wait steadily. You allow the other side to reveal their intentions, priorities, and fears. Then, at the right moment, you make your move. You trade your silence for their uncertainty. You hold back information until the outcome leans your way naturally. And when they recognize they have conceded more than intended, the moment to fix it has already passed. Relationships and social dynamics. Money isn't the only form of value. Influence is currency too. And here's a truth few understand. People sabotage their influence by being overly available, overly emotional, and completely predictable. You avoid that mistake. You apply the law of withholding intentionally. You don't grant full access to everyone. You maintain a slight distance, a controlled mystery. You share selectively, never completely. And because humans desire what they can't fully grasp, This naturally increases your perceived worth. People pursue you. People invest in you. People respect you. This isn't manipulation. It's strategic management of your social presence, so every form of value flows toward you. Business and enterprise. Here is where these principles are the most powerful. Businesses fail because they rely on facts, features, and effort to sell. They push logic. They talk about specifications. But the most successful players sell dreams, identity, and emotion. They build narratives. They design appearances. They create desire from scratch. Look at global giants in luxury, tech, lifestyle. Are their products always worth the premium? Rarely. But the narrative, the illusion, creates demand. People line up, pay more, and attach personal meaning to what they buy. This is the law of illusion paired with the law of narrative. If you want to build wealth intentionally, stop selling only functional value. Start selling emotional meaning. Don't sell food, sell identity. Don't sell clothing, sell social elevation. Don't sell courses, sell the feeling of becoming a better version of oneself. People don't buy objects. They buy the story, conflict, and competition. The inexperienced waste effort battling every challenge that appears. They argue pointlessly. They defend themselves constantly. And in doing so, they lose power. The strategist doesn't respond to everything. The strategist chooses battles. They wait, observe, and strike only when the result is already predictable. This is the law of timing in conflict. When tension rises, you don't rush to react. You watch closely. You let opponents reveal their plan, waste their energy, and expose their vulnerabilities. Then you act decisively when their guard is lowest. That's why the wealthy expand during downturns. That's why they buy when others freeze. That's why they acquire opportunities while the fearful retreat. They preserve energy for moves that build empires, not petty disputes. Over time, without dramatic shifts, your inner mindset transforms. You notice the difference. While others chase comfort, you choose discipline. While others overshare, you remain controlled. While others panic at uncertainty, you stay steady. While others trade time endlessly, you build leverage. While others speak truth and go unnoticed, you craft narratives and get compensated. You've stepped into a different mental level. This is your final stage of evolution. Unreadable, untouchable, unstoppable in the wealth game. You move quietly. You build without announcing. You grow influence and capital until one day people look up and wonder when you surpass them. You've risen to a different tier entirely. This is the path of a strategic mind, leading through design, intention, and discipline. It is freedom from emotional impulses. It is what I call the predator's consciousness, a mindset that shapes wealth, influence, and environments naturally. Most will never see it. They'll remain emotional, reactive, hopeful without strategy. But you now have access to deeper understanding. You've reached the threshold. And now comes your decision point. You can ignore this, go back to familiar habits, and remain predictable, emotional, and financially stuck. Or you can treat this as your initiation. You can begin applying these laws today. You can stop reacting and start strategizing. You can stop working for money and start directing money to work for you. If you're ready to continue this transformation, to strengthen your mind, sharpen your strategy, and become truly untouchable in the game, hit that like button right now. Not as a favor, but as a signal to yourself that you're stepping deeper into the process. Because the further we go, the more powerful the insights become. And once you cross that mental boundary, there's no returning to ordinary thinking. So the question is simple. Are you ready to stop being prey and start becoming the predator?